Tristina Osacho. The data we don't collect is the suffering we allow. Chronic pelvic pain in Canadian Armed Forces veterans.
In the military, soldiers are taught to outrun their pain. They're taught to brace it, tape it, bite down on it, finish the mission. Pain is noise, and you push past it. Now that framework works when the pain ends with the mission. But what happens when it doesn't? What happens when the operation ends, the uniform comes off, and the pain follows you into your home, your family, your identity? Not as something that you or anyone else can even see. It's deep, internal, and invisible. And it's a type of pain that clinicians might struggle to name, might struggle to scan, might struggle to even conceptualize today. Now, the pain that I'm speaking about is a type of chronic pain, and that's chronic pelvic pain. Now, chronic pelvic pain is a health problem that has been, accepted for a while now, and it affects both men and women. Now, unfortunately, women are disproportionately affected due to a slew of reasons that essentially ties down to a more vulnerable anatomy. Our pelvises are shaped different, we have different organs inside them, and when you tie that with life experiences, like the prospect of pregnancy and childbirth, the risk only increases. Now, we have an estimate for prevalence, and that right now in civilian women looks to be at least 25%. That's 1 in 4. And unfortunately, the consequences of and the symptoms of having chronic pelvic pain, that they spill into every domain of life. It impacts your ability to do your daily tasks, to work, to sleep, to have healthy sexual function. And it increases stress, anxiety, depression. Now, when you take that and you apply it to a military and a veteran lens, things only get more complex. Because now, instead of only dealing with the spillage that civilians might face, you're adding layers. You're adding deployment strain. You're adding interruption of care, whether that be because of your deployment or because now you're getting posted across the country for your new job. It comes with trauma exposure and the subsequent mental health challenges that follow. And it comes with the brutal self-discipline of push through it. And that's ingrained into every military member on day one. Now, when we look at the prevalence and what we know that women veterans are more likely to be affected than their military male counterparts. And we know that women veterans are more likely to be affected than civilian women as well. We're estimating right now that at least 30% of women veterans live with chronic pelvic pain. That's almost 1 in 3. And unfortunately, to add to the burden, experiencing or enduring things like military sexual trauma, operational stress injuries, and PTSD, well, those make your risk of developing chronic pelvic pain 2 to 3 times more likely. Unfortunately, we need to know this because these phenomena are prevalent among military members. And the impact that they have on the members doesn't end with their service. It's likely to follow them through life even as they are veterans. Now, I want to highlight a few quotes directly from women veterans about the impact that the pain condition has had on their lives and their careers. Let's start. So, do your job and deal with the pain. It's a struggle. Be strong and do your job. No one wants to talk about it. You learn to live with it. I try to work out as much as I can. I do not want to be on extra medications. So, you avoid talking about it as much as possible and play it all down. And I am a female and a minority, and when I say I'm in pain, I am viewed with an unconscious bias. I'm a very small segment of a pretty large population. Now, I'm sure you're starting to see the trends that are emerging from just these 3 quotes here, but I'm going to give you a catch. These quotes presented the stats that I talked about a few minutes ago. Not a single one of them is Canadian. Oh, mic drop for a second, right? These stats come from allied nations, US, UK, and unfortunately, the archive, the Canadian archive that we can pull from to find this data is quite slim. So when we try to conceptualize the problem from a Canadian perspective, we start with trying to find a baseline estimate from allied military nations. UK, US, Australia, New Zealand. We try to extrapolate from civilian cohorts. We hope that maybe the numbers are similar, but we don't actually know. We don't know the scope, the depth of the problem, how many people it affects, because the Canadian military structure is unique. Our healthcare system's unique. The veteran care pipeline's unique. And so taking this outside data and trying to apply it to our inside problems, it's quite difficult. Now, when we try to conceptualize this data, try to look at it, the gap that we see in the knowledge, it's not purely academic. It's structural as well. And the consequences are structural and institutional too. And so when we don't have a measurement, leaders can plausibly claim that it's not a big problem. And if it's not a big problem, why are we funding it? Right? But if we don't have funding, then we don't get training, we don't get education, both for the clinicians that provide the care, but also for the members themselves, for early identification, for self-management, because that's important too. And so we perpetuate this cycle of providers miss it, military members or veterans mask it, and the silence continues. And that's how a quiet medical problem becomes a loud system failure. Evidence is leverage. And unfortunately, without Canadian data sets to justify it, nothing forward will move in military defense health. And so I'm going to reiterate again that silence at the data level will guarantee silence at the policy level. Yeah, very, very intense topic, right? I do want to end off by saying that this topic is not all doom and gloom, all right? There's hope. And the hope is that the silence is cracking. Because in the last few years, we have seen a slow but a steady increase in Canadian publications and Canadian reports put out on matters of public health related to the military. And that's awesome, because with every report that's put out, every article that's published, it gets more difficult to push this problem aside, to tell people it's not a big one. And with that, it snowballs. The idea that pelvic pain is niche, that's disappearing. The idea that it's unmeasurable is going along with it. We have advocates, we have researchers, right? We have proof that when you surface a problem in military health, the system will learn how to move with it. But the question is, are we going to accelerate with the knowledge that we have, knowing what gaps we need to fill, or will we drift? Because our military, our defense, we don't defend with equipment or with tech. We defend with people. And as such, the military that we build, it's not defined by the hurt, but it's defined by what military members, what veterans, what we refuse to ignore about it. Thank you.